Howdy guys and gals, welcome back to the bunker of the Social Regressive, which just happens to look like my garage. A lot of you right now are probably putting together a new AR, whether for defense, maybe this is your first time putting one together. One of the first things you might be bumping into is the fact that it's actually pretty difficult to attach certain items. These rifles are wonderfully modular, and you can put, all kinds of scopes and sights and all kinds of things on there pretty easily, grips. You can configure this just the way you want, which is exactly what I did with this one. If you want to see the full playlist with what I call the Scout AR, go check that out, because I turned this into something that I really intended for all kinds of use, but mostly for hunting, especially hunting hogs. And it's a great rifle. I love the way that this came out. But yeah, one of the things that when I was putting this together I had to try to figure out is I have various items that I want to attach to here, and one of the things that you're going to see on your common handguards now is that they're very smooth, they're very slim, very easy to hold because they're using M-LOK or maybe Keymod. Keymod has kind of fallen a bit out of favor. Most people are doing M-LOK now. But yeah, they feel great and they're very lightweight. But then when you go to try to attach something, you really can't, because there just aren't many items out there that are built to natively attach to M-LOK. If you want to get a bipod, there are a couple of items out there. There's a Magpul. There's the wonderful Leapers model that actually is two pieces that attach to the sides of the rail. And I'll put a link to that video here because you're going to want to check that out. If you especially intend to do long range shooting with your AR, maybe it's an AR-10 or some other bigger rifle like that, I think you'd really dig that bipod. It works really well, very stable. But a lot of the other things that you want to attach to here, you just kind of can't unless you get some kind of adapter. And so that's what we're going to take a look at today, because, okay, for me, there are all kinds of things that I like to run on here. A bipod on the front with just, the usual swivel stud adapter, or maybe a Picatinny style. I have one of each, and I can kind of swap those around. We have items like this, which is the Mantis X, which is my little trainer device. And I showed this in a previous video, the quarantine challenge, just doing some dry fire down here. But I've also done some rifle work out at the range to try to improve my skills. And this little guy is going to tell me where I'm screwing up, what I'm doing poorly before I take the shot, as I take the shot, and afterward. And this can actually not just tell me, kind of show me where everything drifted around because of all the little accelerometers in here, but it can actually tell me probably what I am doing wrong. If I'm doing something wrong with my hand, with my trigger finger, if I'm hitting the pad of my finger just wrong with the trigger, this will tell me all kinds of data. And I do need something to actually attach it to. That's why I've got this little guy right here. This is a little 5-rail section of Picatinny. And then with this little guy, all I have to do is just slide it into place. And then once it gets to the right spot, I can lock it. There we go. So that just locks into place. And then that one's ready to go. Or I could have items like this flashlight that we recently tested at night to see if we could actually see anything through a gas mask. Especially at night, just, worse conditions all the way around. The only way we could have made it worse is, put a lot of smoke into the atmosphere. Fun shoot. Make sure you check that video out as well. But yeah, I need Picatinny for that. And then if I have some sort of sling, a lot of them nowadays are going to be using those quick little push button, quick detach things. And this natively does have one back here on the buttstock. A lot of you guys buttstocks are going to have this as well. This is the ATI. They call this the Tact Light, I think, and this one is really cool, very minimalist, very light. So we can put our little, our sling back there, but there's no attachment point at the front. So again, I need some kind of item up front so that I can attach it. So that's where we get into GroveTech. GroveTech is not only a manufacturer of all those little parts that you need, all those little adapters to be able to get Keymod to Picatinny, or M-LOK to Picatinny, M-LOK to quick, the little swivel studs up here, or to the push button studs. They have all those little adapters that can get you from one part to the other, and they do it very brilliantly. Now, first off, I need to point out one big thing. These are made in Merca. which for a lot of you guys I know is very important. And actually in this case, I think it's important for all of us. There are a lot of Chinese parts out there that are available on Amazon that have a very attractive looking price. But when it comes down to it, there are some things that can be missing. There are some Chinese goods that I'm going to go ahead and say that they are actually quite good. Like this scope up here, the Falcon S8i. This one is designed in England, as it should be. And, they're the ones that manage the quality control. They're the ones that came up with the whole design to begin with. But this is actually assembled in China, and the glass is actually made in China, and they have done a really good job. Some of the factories there are, able to pull it down. They're doing all right. But sometimes you get a lot of this Me Too stuff that's coming out of China, where people have seen things that have been made in America. Maybe someone actually contracted with a factory to build something for them. And then, this factory will either hand the information off to somebody else to make their own copies of it, or they'll just start making unlicensed copies and selling them on the American market. And in a lot of cases, what happens, well, okay, think about it for just a second. Is China a free place? No. They don't really have our values. They don't have any idea actually why a lot of these things exist. Why you would actually want something on a rifle like this. They just see that somebody else wanted it, and so they make it too. And that's where you can get into some really messy stuff. I've tried out a couple different Chinese like scope mounts and things just to see, okay, are these actually up to snuff? Do they compare to a lot of the other ones that are being made here in the US, or at least designed here in the US? And for the most part, actually for almost all the part, the answer is no. Because they just don't understand the purpose. They don't do the thing. They don't shoot. They don't, they can't go out and do any of this. They're just kind of doing this Me Too, where they're just kind of flooding the market with all kinds of cheap parts. So you're going to get things that are built to inferior specs. You're going to get things that you put them on and you wonder what in the world they were thinking when they came up with it in the first place. And so that's where these, I think, are really important. Because for me, when I go out with this rifle, I want to go hunt, and I'm hunting actually kind of dangerous animals. Hogs are not, deer can be dangerous, but hogs are kind of crazy. If you hit one of them, it's not a guarantee that you're going to take one out. You better hit it in just the right spot in order to take it out. And even then, that's only at the behest of the hog itself. If it decides it wants to keep going, then it will. Those things are like little tanks. And when I say little, I mean that a full-grown one is going to be up over 200 pounds, and it could get way north of that. And when you go to finish one off, like we did in the past with Billy trying to, kind of getting that one into a corner, it just came straight at him. They are very aggressive. And I don't want anything attached to this that's not going to help support that mission of, being out hunting and being able to defend ourselves. So yeah, if I go out on one of these night hunts, anything that I attach to this rifle, I want to make absolutely sure that it is going to be working really well. And that is where these come in. One of the biggest things about this when I first got it is that each of these pieces is ridiculously light. They are using some very, very good materials to make these. And the anodizing on this also seems to be very thick and very hard. So these are going to be very hardy, hard use items all the way around. And in addition to that lightness that you get. For example, I actually have 3 pieces attached to here right now, 3 different Grove Tech accessories. I have this 5-rail Picatinny up here that also has the little push button things. I have it on this side so that I can attach this this Olight over here for hunting. And okay, so this is Chinese made, but this was one of those that I was talking about that's actually really darn good. And you can check out that other video. Yeah, I want a light on this side or to mount the Mantis X. On the underside, I have the swivel stud adapter so that I can use that kind of bipod. I just went out one day with I think it was a Blackhawk bipod. I wanted to be able to get really stable with that. And then I do have that third piece that I leave on here all the time. And this guy weighs nothing. I actually can't feel when I have attached one of these versus not. If you want to talk about weight, silencer is going to be a much bigger deal than that. But yeah, this little push button socket right here. So yeah, 3 of these on here. They don't weigh anything. And one of the coolest things about this when I first attached it is that it just locks up very, very tightly. Take a close look at this little 5-railed Picatinny section right here. You're going to notice that this is not your typical cheese grater. A lot of the things that come out of China are just sharp-edged all the way around. This is perfectly radiused in all the right spots, so this is much less likely to catch on things. It's much less likely to have burrs or anything that could prevent items from sticking. This is just machined perfectly all the way around. And then on the back side, where you have the little kind of studs that lock into the rail, you're going to notice, popping it in there, that it just it doesn't really want to move around much. It's a nice tight fit, and then once you actually torque this down, it just doesn't want to move anywhere. I've never had any of the screws back off on me. Nothing has ever loosened up, and I don't really have to get all that crazy with the torque either. Of course, I want to be pretty strong about it because I am going out hunting with this rifle. But yeah, everything just kind of locks up really neatly and functions really well. Something to think about when you are using a rail like this or any of the other parts that you're going to be attaching a light, a laser. You want these to be repeatable. You don't want anything to move, and you want them to be able to point in the right direction. And that, I think, is one of the biggest reasons to go with these GroveTech parts, because they are going to be repeatable. They seem to be extremely precise. And so if I take something off and put it back on again, I'm going to be assured that my zero has not shifted, my flashlight is pointed where my muzzle is pointed, and I'm just not going to have to worry about anything. I haven't ever had to think out on a hunt because I actually did take some of these parts out there. I have my sling attached and various other things. I've never had to think about, is my gun going to fall apart? Everything is just solid. Everything is squared away, and I know that it's going to get the job done. One other item that I need to take a moment to point out that doesn't belong to the AR family, it's not M-LOK or KeyMod, this is for your bolt action rifles. If you have one of the, like maybe the Boyd stocks, or you have some other kind of heavy wood stock, and you want to be able to have a quick detach stud for your rifle, like say you have a rifle you want to be able to use with a bipod in certain situations, and you want to pop the little stud out and make a nice flush, flat forearm, maybe for competition use, so you can ride it on one of the front rests or a bag. These little guys are awesome, and I have one of these attached to telekinesis. I haven't ever mentioned that, but this comes with 2. You have the little stud that pops in and out. You just use a very small Allen key or something that's, you could use a paper clip to push a little button inside there that releases the detents, and you can pop it out. But this right here, telekinesis, has had one of these for a long time. And I can, as you can see, I can turn this puppy all the way around. And inside there's a great big metal stud sitting inside the wood. And I've just attached that with epoxy. I drilled out a big hole for it, made it kind of tight so I could screw it in. And that's it right there. So I rely on this for my my prairie dog hunts, my little varminting adventures. And if I go to the range, I can be set up for whatever kind of shooting I'm after. Now there is one other thing that I do want to point out here. When it comes to varminting, we do a different kind of varminting than most other folks that I've met. A lot of folks that I've seen, especially on their YouTube channels, the way that they hunt prairie dogs is they set up a table or some kind of other rest, and then they sit and they wait for the prairie dogs to come up and then pop them. And my father-in-law and I, when we go out there, we don't do that. We are stalking up to, from ridge to ridge to try to get as many out there that are not spooked as possible. We're not setting up gear, we're not driving up. We actually just kind of walk and then eventually start crawling down into position and take a spot, up toward the top of a ridge and see how many of these guys we can take out without them ever noticing us. It's good practice and it's really good fun. But one of the biggest problems that I've had with this is that this is a big, heavy rifle. It's huge. And I wanted a sling that would be pretty hasty, something that would be very stable when I'm carrying it. And really, a lot of the over-the-shoulder slings are kind of a pain in the neck. I've personally dropped this rifle back when it had its original plastic stock, and it was pretty new, different scope. And yeah, I actually damaged that scope just a little bit. It didn't actually mess it up all that badly. I was able to get it back on target and get back out to hunting. But this right here is the answer that I've been looking for a very long time. This is a two-shoulder sling that you kind of wear like a backpack. So this attaches to the top swivel stud right down here on the rifle. And then you can actually just get both of these straps across your shoulders. So you're going to be much more stable when you're doing some long walks from one position to the next. And you're not worried about it falling off a shoulder, falling onto the ground. The only thing that this does not do is it's probably not going to be extremely stable in the crawl, which is still something that I'm looking for. I'm going to try to rig something. So it's kind of like a belt. I'm not exactly sure how it's going to work, but I'd like to have the bottom of the rifle kind of stable as well, so when I get down into a crawl, it's not going to kind of fall off one side. At least it'll stay on the shoulders, but if I can get it to kind of stay to my hips as well, I'm going to see if I can figure something out. If I do, I'll make a video about it, but this guy is awesome. All right, now I've been talking about the quality of the GroveTech items and the fact that they are made in America, so as you can imagine, they are going to have a higher price tag than the Chinese ones that you're going to see out there. There's going to be a lot of competition when you pull up your Amazon account and you're trying to find some kind of adapter for your M-LOK or KeyMod. And let me just list out some of the prices that you're going to find realistically on Amazon right now. The little sling adapter, the push button adapter, this tiny little guy on this side that weighs absolutely nothing, that one costs about 28 bucks. This is $27.64. The bipod stud mount that you see here at the front, this one is $30.64. And then for the 5-rail Picatinny sections, these are somewhere in the $20 range. These ones tend to go up and down because they're very popular, and they have all kinds of different sizes. Some of them are 6 inches long, some of them are 3 inches long. They have different sections of Picatinny. Some of them have the little push button sockets right here, and some of them don't. They have all kinds of little special adapters for exactly what you're after. Some of them have just a swivel stud and something else. So yeah, check those out and see which of these fits for you. And where I'd probably start is actually on the GroveTech catalog. So I'm going to put a link down below to GroveTech itself, and you can check out a bunch of their parts. They make, just as I said, tons of these things, and ones for very specific uses and specific missions. And then when you go out to make a purchase, I've got links right down below to some of the, especially some of the products that I use myself on my own rifles, some of the more popular ones. So I will put those links to Amazon and to Optics Planet down below. Be watching, because I don't just talk about this stuff, I actually use it. Watch in the future videos and check out some of the past videos, and you can see all the little parts that I've actually been using out there. Thank you to everybody that has made these videos possible, especially patrons of the Destructive Arts. A lot of folks are chipping in just $1 or $2 a month to keep videos like these coming out. We're going to be doing some long-range practical demonstrations. We have more gel tests on the way. We're testing more 350 Legend. We're going to get into 5.7x28. And then I really want to get into some 6.5 Creedmoor and 243 Winchester gel tests, so I can show you exactly what those rounds are going to do at some of the longer distances. We have some precision rifles, and I'm not going to be shooting the gel at silly distances like 7 or 10 yards. No. We're going to be hitting them at about 400 yards. And we're going to see what those bullets can actually do at practical ranges. So yeah, thank you to Sportsman's Guide, Stan and Mary at the 338 Lapua Magnum level. And then we have Joseph Davis, we have Peter, and we have Mr. No Name at the 300 Win Mag level. If anybody else wants to chip in $1 or $2 a month to keep videos like these coming, I'll put a link around here somewhere. And make sure that you guys like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell down below so you can find out when new videos come out, because we have a lot of exciting stuff on the way. See you guys around. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to like, share, and most importantly, subscribe. Even if you didn't like this particular content, go ahead and subscribe. There's probably something coming that's more up your alley. Check out this playlist right here. This is going to have videos in a similar vein to what you just watched. These 2 videos we cherry-picked for you. And finally, The Social Regressive is on Patreon.
So you can become a patron of the Destructive Arts and earn some goodies while helping us to provide high quality videos just by kicking us a few bucks a month. Thanks a bunch for your patronage.